Uh-huh.
I've not seen it, but yes, he's done a movie. And Hebrews to Negroes, that's the name of it.
Yes, yes,
Yeah. So
yes.
I read those books, and that's when I really began to say, this is, yeah. And then I just concluded that well, not concluded, accepted who I am.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Hebrews and
Wow.
Negroes got a lot in it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes,
Got it.
yes.
Yeah,
But
just the first few pages I read, I was stuck. I read it over and over. Just the first few pages. I had some stuff about the Jews, the stuff that you brought up, Dawid. About you could marry a 12-year-old, have sex with them, and talked about that. And like it went over a whole lot of stuff. Yeah,
wow.
like I said, I only got through like a couple pages. It was so much. They got other volumes of it too. So the first one got a lot in it, a whole lot.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Okay. So
And when I
I didn't know Dalton. I didn't know that he was I didn't know that he was is he I thought he was a messianic. I thought he was into Yeshua.
Well, he he may be. I think I found that out, or was leaning toward that conclusion at the end of, I think, maybe the first or second book.
Yeah.
I was quite surprised, but then my sister was telling me, "No, JC is not. It's not it. There's only one Yah." I said, "Well, no, there's three in one. Because that's what I'd been taught." But then I came to the realization that what she was saying was true. You
Yeah.
know, there are other people who are out there claiming to be Hebrew Israelites, but they believe in Yahushua,
Mm-hmm.
Yahusha. You know, I'm trying to think of the Watchman and his wife with redirection.
Yeah. Yeah. I
They're
used to watch
very,
them. Yeah.
yeah, and I have notebooks full of notes taken from them. But then again, after I came to the realization of no, it's not. There is nobody but Yah, and He's single.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I think that's what it is. I don't think anybody can literally tell us this. I think we have to come to it on our own, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because everyone has been telling us everything. I used to watch The Watchmen. When I first came into the truth. When I first came to the truth, I used to believe in Yeshua. I used to believe it until one day I was praying. I was like, in the name of such and such. And he said, and then something in my spirit was like, well, why do you say that? There was no, there's nowhere that any prophet has ever said anything. And I've been, I wasn't reading the Torah all the way. I was just reading pieces of it. You know how people like to go into the Torah and pull out a segment and then they go back to the New Testament and they try to tie it all up together so it
Yeah.
could appear that it goes together. And I prayed in that name and I was like, well, why did I asked the creator, like, why did I say that? You never said anything about a son in his name. You never mentioned him. So then I got on my quest and I started looking into it. And the one who changed my mind and really got me on it was this guy in Cincinnati, is called From the House of Israel. His name is Elisha.
Oh,
His name
yes. Yes.
Elisha, and he was like in his 50s or 60s.
Uh-huh.
And I started listening to him, and I was like, wait a minute. And when
Yeah.
he would talk, when he would speak, I wanted to be I was willing to be a follower. I was
Yeah.
like, this guy right here is telling the truth. And I
Mm-hmm.
started listening to what he was saying. And I asked the creator, I said, well, I want to be like this guy. I want to be
Mm-hmm.
a teacher like him, because it was just profound. And I
Yes.
mean, he just got little 10-15 minute clips. And I mean, he was checking people in a real nice way and, letting
Yeah.
them know, but he was firm on it. I was like, I
Yes.
like this guy. And then I said, okay, I told my wife she wasn't even interested. She was not interested at all in
Uh-huh.
hearing, because she wanted to, stay with you. Because I already broke her into like, we're the people. That was hard enough. And
Yeah.
have to give up the Christmas tree. But then she's asked me, what are you watching? I would say nothing. I'm just doing some study. I wouldn't say, because I didn't want to break the bad news to her that this is different. This is not it. And so once she came aboard, she started watching some of them with me later on, like a couple of months later. We're like, hey, we need to go see him. So I reached out to go find this guy, right? And I found out that he died. He died.
Yeah.
Yeah, he died. I was like, man, I want to go see him. I want to go to Cincinnati. I want to, be part of their sacred conference. I want to really know. And I found out he was dead, and I was broken heart. I was like, man, I definitely would have been a straight student of him, for real.
Yeah, I caught a few of his tapes too, and I really did like him. And I wondered why there weren't any more recent tapes, or videos
Yeah.
or what have you. And then I found out that he passed away. I said, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was very painful. I didn't even know him, but I felt a loss. I'm serious. I literally got sad. I mean, we were like ready to go to Cincinnati and everything. I wanted to be a student. I wanted to reach out to him. I wanted to talk to him. And because I was going to be telling him thank you, because his words and his teachings were so profound.
Yes.
And the thing that stuck out the most to me was, what did the Creator say? When he kept saying that, I was like, yeah, what did the Creator say? He said, it's nowhere in the New Testament that says, thus saith Yahweh, the word of Yahweh came unto me. And when I heard that, and I looked at it, and that's where it really got it for me. And then I did additional research, and I was like, wait a minute. His name is never even mentioned in the New Testament. The Creator's name is not mentioned, not one time.
Right.
The Yahweh, and it's mentioned over 6,828 times in the Tanakh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's like 700 something times, in the book of Jeremiah. So I'm like, and that's my go-to. I always ask people that, well, what is it? But no one could tell me. I said, when the Creator say it? So everyone has a problem with that. And of course, and that was several years ago. But now I'm just, I asked the Creator to give me the teaching ability, because guess what? I almost quit teaching, because when I found out that the Yeshua didn't exist and that he was something that they made up as well, and they switched him from being white to black.
Yeah.
I felt really dumb, and I felt like I've been lying to people, so I didn't want to teach anymore.
That's how I felt, because I was a teacher in the church.
Yeah.
And after I found out the truth, I said, I don't want to teach never again, because I don't want to be teaching something wrong.
Yeah. And I cried, and I said, yeah. And I said, I'm sorry that I lied to your people. And
Yeah.
and there was, I'm not kidding, there wasn't a voice, but it was a subconscious thing in me that said they weren't my people. I said, what? They never called on my name. They don't know who I am. So we're square. Yes, Renee.
Wow.
Yeah, Renee, go ahead. Renee, you're on mute, baby.
What was that guy's name you guys talking about?
Alicia. His name is Alicia.
Oh, Moray Alicia.
Moray Alicia. That's his name. Don't you ever forget it.
Right.
Moray Alicia from the house of Israel. That was my teacher. I'm serious, man.
Yeah, I liked him.
You never seen him? You never heard him? Man, hey, bro, you need to go Moray, Moreh, Moray Alicia from the house of Israel in Cincinnati. He's dead now, but his teachings are still being played, and they're deep. They're just deep. And as for his time, they were beyond deep. He's been on this for like 30 something years, you guys. So it's not like it wasn't fresh to them. We're late to the party.
Yes.
We're late. But Moray Alicia I consider him my Moray, my teacher. I watched all his tapes. I watched him over and over again. But anyway, let's get started in our teaching tonight. And let's find out some more information. Baruch et Yahweh de Hamburaka, the Baruch Yahweh de Hamburaka la Alam Wayed. The Baruch Yahweh, the Eloheinu Melech HaAlam, the Arisheret de Bekale Bainu, the Mikola HaAmayim, the Menatan Lanu de Et Torato. The Baruch Atah Yahweh, the Notain the HaTorah, the Baruch Atah Yahweh, the Eloheinu, the Melech HaAlam, the Arisheret Natan Lanu, the Torah, the Dimete Wekaye, the Olam Mere Betokinu, the Baruch Atah Yahweh, the Notan HaTorah. What is that to say? That is to say, blessed is Yahweh. He's the blessed one. Blessed is Yahweh. He's the blessed one for all eternity. We bless Yahweh because he is our Elohim. He's our king. He's the king of the universe who selected us as his people and gave us his Torah. Blessed are Yahweh, for he's the giver of the Torah. And we bless Yahweh, for he's our Elohim. He's the king of the universe. And he gave us his Torah of truth, and he planted the eternal life within us. Blessed are you, Yahweh, for he's the giver of Torah. Praise the Holy One of Israel. Let me define when I say eternal life within us. What I mean by that is not a Christian concept. You know, it's not a Christian concept at all. It is about Yah telling us that when we die, we're going to die with our ancestors. You know, this last week we were talking about the stars, and we're talking about the dust, and we're talking about the sand of the sea, and how when Yah names these things and when he created them, he directly connected them to the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So when he says that, you know, your descendants are going to be as numerous as this, you guys, we're going to be able to continue on and on and on and on and on. Okay. Even David himself had even said when Yah told him, when you pass and you go to sleep with your fathers, you're going to go to sleep with your fathers and you're going to go and be with your fathers. And let's take a look at that right quick. Just a little side note. I want to give us some more information about this because this is a big issue for us. Okay. I know we're in chapter number 28. Just remind me, just in case I forget. I am live right now, so this recording will be on YouTube. For those of you who want to go back and watch it, you can. All right, so a few things. In the book of Chronicles, and in First Chronicles, it gives you the life of David, okay? It tells you how he brought up the Ark of the Covenant, and we'll probably look at that a little bit, but let's get to what Yah told David. Okay, this is important. I'm always laughing, you guys, not because I think it's funny. I think I'm laughing because I have so much joy because I know the truth. Okay, nobody can fool me anymore. And that's what I love about the Torah, and I love about the Tanakh and the writings. Okay, it says, after David had been living in his palace, okay, a while, he just recently brought up the Ark of the Covenant from, I think it was from Sheol or somewhere like that. He brought it out, and he brought it and he put it in a tent up in the city of David. Okay. And he said, here, I'm living in a cedar wood palace, but the Ark of the Covenant of Yahweh is kept under a tent. He just said, I'm living in a palace, but Yah's living underneath a tent. Okay. And Natan, which is a prophet, okay, in his seer, he said to David, go do everything that is in your levavka, in your heart, okay, your mind, for Elohim is with you, right? But the same night, the word of Yahweh came to Natan, okay? Natan means to give. So remember I told you in Hebrew, there's words, names mean things, and especially someone's name, it means something. Natan means to give. That's what his name means. They call him Nathan. Where I told you if you shot dice back in the 70s and the 80s, we rolled that dice, said you ain't getting Nathan. Nathan means nothing. But in Hebrew, it actually is the opposite. It means to give. Okay. So Natan means to give. And so he says, go, and this is what Yahweh told, Elohim told Natan. He said, go and tell David, my servant, that this is what Yahweh says. Okay. You guys, I want you to always remember this. Okay, always remember this. If it's never about anything else that I'm telling that you learn from me, you need to understand that this is what Yahweh says. To invoke that name, that yod, that hey, that wad, that hey, that's power. That's power. No one, if no one's saying that Yah said it, you shouldn't listen to it. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Over the last 7 years, Yah has been dealing with me, telling me and instructing me. It says, if I didn't say it, you don't have to listen to it. So when I found out that he never spoke in the New Testament, and he never Which one of the apostles or anybody ever said, and this is what Yahweh says? Not one of them, not one time. And this is a theme that's in all books, and we'll see more of that tonight. Okay. So you are not, this is what Yah told Nathan to tell David. You are not to build a house for me to live in. I don't want you to build a house for me. Okay. Because from the day I brought up Israel unto today. Okay. So from what day? The day that he started a relationship with Israel, when he brought us out of Egypt. He said, I never lived in a house. Rather, I have gone from tent to tent. Now you can see the importance of that one time that we celebrate every year, which is called Sukkot. You can see Sukkot in this. Yah wants us to live in a tent 7 days. And of course, sometimes we're able to do it, and other times we're not. We had some firestorms. We weren't able to go this year. Maybe we weren't able to stay in. I got some issues or whatever, but this is what Yah is talking about. Okay. That he told Israel that, you know what? I've never lived in a house. I've always lived in a tent. So when someone's like, hey, he wants to live inside of you, and he's going to live in you now. You could tell them because he doesn't dwell in a temple built with hands. He dwells in tents. Okay. And from one tabernacle to another. Okay. A tent is a tabernacle from one location to the next. So everywhere, Yah's talking, everywhere I travel with all Israel. Did I ever speak a word? See, it's about what he says. Did I ever speak a word to any of the judges of Israel, whom I ordered to shepherd my people, asking, why haven't you built me a cedar wood house? I never asked nobody for nothing. Period. Okay. This is going to give you some information tonight. So then 7 says, therefore say to my servant David, or Dawid, that this is what Yahweh Zavaoth says. Okay. So now we see a difference between what Yahweh says. I want you to pick up on this. Why did he say Yahweh says this? And then down here, he says, he uses this here and says Yahweh Zavaoth. Why did he include Zavaoth? Does everyone know what Zavaoth means? Well, let me tell you what it means.
Okay.
Zavaoth on the surface means armies. Okay, they call it a host. Okay, so there's a lot of armies that he has. Okay, so there's armies in the heavens, and there's armies on the earth, and there's armies underneath the earth. The earth meaning underneath the surface of the earth, and there's armies in the water. Okay, it's a multitudes of multitudes. You can find this in Genesis when he even mentions and said that Yahweh had finished making all the host of everything, which he calls Zavaoth. That's why he calls himself Yahweh Zavaoth. So here he's telling us, not just from a military standpoint of armies, he's saying everything that's ever been made, I made it. So the armies of insects, the armies of cattle, the armies of everything, I'm in charge. I'm the king of all that. That's why they call his name Yahweh Zavaoth, because he is over everything. He said, I took you, Dawid, from the sheep yards and from following sheep, okay, to make you a chief over my people, Yisrael. Yah brought him there. He said, I've been with you wherever you went. I destroyed all your enemies ahead of you, and I'm making your reputation like the reputation of the greatest people on the earth. Okay, so David is not the only one, but there's also other people that are going to be very great on the earth. Okay. Okay, so here's the thing. You know how the Christians like to say, oh, well, he's talking about Christ is going to be the #1 guy on the earth and so forth and so on. No, there is only one that's going to get all the credit on the earth, and that's Yahweh. But there are other people on the earth that are great. He said, I'm making you I'm making your reputation like the reputation of the greatest people on the earth. I will assign a place to my people Israel, okay? And I will plant them there. okay? So that they can live in their own place without being disturbed anymore. Is that heaven? Or does that sound like earth?
Earth.
That's earth. Okay. Because, so this is still a prophecy. He's letting David know what his intention is for his people, Israel. Okay. Because those are his people. I will plant them there so that they can live there in their own place without being disturbed anymore. Well, weren't they living in the land at this time? So what is he talking about? Right. So they haven't been invaded. Okay. David's been ruling. He's been destroying everybody. He said the wicked will no longer devastate them. So we know that this is a time that's coming. Okay. And like they did at the beginning, they said this will no longer anymore. No wicked will ever devastate them. Okay. So he's letting them know what the future is for his people. And he says, as they did from the time that I ordered judges over my people of Israel, instead, I will subdue all your enemies. Okay. Moreover, I tell you that Yahweh will make you a house. So the covenant and the promise that Yah is telling David from the mouth of this prophet is to say that Yahweh's intention is not for David to make him a house, okay, but for Yahweh to make him a house. And what house is he going to make him? He's going to give him a dynasty. Okay, he's going to give him a dynasty of kings and sons. Okay, and he says, and this is the part that I wanted to show you. When your days come to an end, because they will, and you go to be with your ancestors, okay, to go be with your ancestors, I will establish one of your descendants to succeed you, one of your own sons, and I will set up his rulership. And we know, and he will build me a house. And so this was Shlomo, which is in chapter number 28 of the same book, okay, of First Chronicles. But I wanted to let you know that at any given time, he says that your days will come to an end, and you will go and to be with your ancestors, just like Moshe. Told him you're going to go be with your ancestors. Like Abraham, you'll die in a good old age, you go be with your ancestors. So what we know from what Yahweh has said is that when you and I have an end, we're going to go be with our ancestors. So what does that mean? It means that you're going to be populated back again to your ancestors. Okay. And it is thought that if you're with your ancestors and you have to ask for forgiveness for your ancestors and your own crimes, like in the book of Leviticus, that what it is that you, since you're connected to these people, which are like the stars and like the sand and like the dust, okay, that it's going to continue. They can't be numbered, okay? You and I might go through what they would call different cycles. We could think about this, okay? Because there's cycles, there's life cycles, okay? So the idea behind this is that we live through our ancestors, okay? And our ancestors live through us by, like, we come, then we die, and we bring the next generation. And then those souls, right, they leave and they come, but we create this plant or this tree, and it just keeps going. And it never, so the tree never dies, okay? The tree never dies. The tree just keeps going through its seasons, and it just goes through and over and over and over and over and over again. And so you get the same generation. So what happens to the seed of the tree when it puts a seed on the ground? What happens? The seed is then absorbed into the ground, and then once it's back through the ground, the roots are deriving all of its next generation from the ground. And then all that comes up back through the stem again. And then the stem goes to the branches, and then the branches bring forth the fruit. The fruit then is mature, then it is plucked off, and then it's consumed and eaten. And then the seed, okay, and sometimes if it's not picked off, I'm just using the allegory. When it's not picked off and it falls to the ground, it goes back into the ground again, and then it's absorbed into the soil and goes back up to the tree again. So everything that's in the tree continues to be brought forth over and over again. So a lot of scholars, a lot of ancient writers, even rabbis, and a lot of people understand that the life cycle is, if you could live, you're living through our ancestors. When he tells them after he orders them, remember what Moshe said? He said, we're not making this covenant with you who are just standing here today. I'm making this covenant with those who are not here today. Then he says, when it comes to your attention, when you're scattered among the nations, right? So the language that's being used is curious. It's very curious. So let me, is the screen frozen? Let's see. That's what I don't like about going live sometimes, because when you go live, you know, sometimes it gets stuck. Let's look at something that he said since I started on this path, and then we'll get into our deal. Do you remember when he said in chapter number 30 of Deuteronomy? Listen what Moshe said. Moshe said, when the time arrives that all these things have come upon you, who is he talking to? He's talking to the individuals that are standing there receiving the instructions for the Torah, okay? And this is not an individual deal, okay? He's talking to the people that are there. And he says, both the blessing and the curse which I presented to you, okay? So he's presented to them, you guys, okay? And you are there among the nations, which Yahweh has driven you, okay? These people that he's talking about right here, they're not going to outlive the being among the nations. The individuals that he's talking to here on this day, this was like this day, which is the day that he was going to get ready to bring them in. He's talking to the individuals that are standing there. So how could those individuals be the same one that are among the nations? That's impossible. But you remember what he said, I'm not only making this agreement with you who are standing here, I'm making it with those who are not even here standing among us today. Okay, so with that being said, this is where they get the understanding to say that you get to live again through your ancestors. Why is he asking us to ask for forgiveness for ourselves and the deeds of our ancestors? Why is he asking for us to be the ones responsible? And he says that in Leviticus chapter number 26, that you and I are supposed to be the ones. Anybody want to tell me? Anyone take a guess? All right. If you and I were to do what he asked us to do, feel free to ask any questions. And if you and I turn and back to the Creator, it means that our family may have a probability of coming back through our line. That's the teaching. That's the understanding. If he says, if you guys would do what I'm telling you to do, and you pay attention to what I'm saying, that's the recycling. So God's not creating, there's no teaching that says that he's creating new souls. It's found in that when Abraham, he talks to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that promise of that covenant is to them and their descendants forever. There's a group of Israel that can never be numbered, right? So they're going to continue. They're never going to end, okay? Our flesh may end, but in terms of our souls get to continue on if you and I, here's the concept. He says, if you and I go against him and we don't do what he says, he'll say, I'll cut you off. I'll cut you off from among your people. He uses that term all the time. I will cut that individual off. Why? Because he's going to cut them off from their lifeline. He's not just talking about cutting them off physically, because we're all going to die anyway. What he's saying, I'm going to cut you off from among your people. If you and I intentionally go against him, he'll cut us off. Okay. So when Yah's telling us these things, and he's telling us in Deuteronomy 30, he says the blessing and the cursing, these people never received the curse. So who's he talking to? He's talking to their descendants. He's talking to, honestly, a lot of people believe that when he's talking to them, he's really talking to us. And some people say, was that reincarnation? I wouldn't call it reincarnation. What I would call it is that Yah says, when the time arrives that all these things come upon you, both the blessing and the cursing, which I have presented to you, and you are among the nations to which Yahweh has driven you. Then at last you will start thinking, you will start thinking about what's happened to you. And you will return to Yahweh, your Elohim, and pay attention to what he has said, which will be exactly what I'm ordering you to do today. You and your children with all your heart and all your being. Okay. So, and then it says at that point, Yahweh will reverse your exile and show you mercy. So did any of these people here go into exile? Did anyone that came out of Egypt ever go into exile?
Yeah.
No, the people that came out of Egypt that he delivered, the first generation got killed, right? Because they didn't want to go into the land. The second generation, he didn't kill. He said, I'm not going to kill them. I'm going to let them live, but I'm going to scatter them throughout the nations. Okay, let me show that to you. Just to kind of wrap your mind, because I just can't say something so deep and so heavy and not be able to show you what I'm talking about. Let me give you another example, another witness to what it is, okay? So we got that. So if we go to Deuteronomy chapter number 4, it says this in verse number 27. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so listen what he says, and let's just say in 23, let's start in 23. It says, watch out for yourselves. And he's talking to the same people. You know, this is Deuteronomy. This is the day that he's given a dissertation and letting them know you guys are about to go into the land. But listen what he says carefully. He says, watch out for yourselves. I need you to watch out for yourselves so that you won't forget the covenant which Yahweh made with you, and make yourself a carved image or a representation of anything forbidden to you by Yahweh, your Elohim. He says, for Yahweh, your Elohim, is a consuming fire. He's letting us know that this is how he gets down. He's a jealous God. This consuming fire right here, he's letting them know that he'll consume you. Okay. When you have had, listen to this, when you have had children, okay, verse number 25, when you have had children and grandchildren, and lived a long time in the land and become corrupt and made a carved image and a representation of something, thus you have done what is evil in the sight of Yahweh your Elohim and provoked him. I call on the sky and earth to witness against you. Okay. So again, when they've had children and grandchildren and they lived a long time, when Joshua and them first got into the land, they were there and everybody did what Yahweh said. They did. Okay. They said they didn't forget about Yahweh. They didn't forget about Yahweh till they got to the book of Judges. So they lived quite a bit of time. I think he died at 137 years old as well. Something like that. Okay. So why does he keep saying that? I call on the sky and the earth to witness against you. And he's talking to this group. See? So when he's talking to this group, he's talking to the nation. Today that you individual nation will quickly disappear from that land. So when did they disappear from the land? They disappeared from the land when Yah exiled them. So these individuals that he's talking to that day, they weren't the ones alive at the time that got exiled. So he's trying to get us to understand whatever he said to these individuals in Deuteronomy, he's talking to you and I, because it's supposed to be passed on from the children to the grandchildren to the children, children. So the same word that, and he says, you're bound by what I'm telling you. Everybody who was not even standing there is bound to what he said. So how is that possible? How is that possible that you and I are bound to a covenant that you and I never heard from our parents. They never told me, my mother never told me, and my grandfather never told me that you're bound to a covenant that our family made with Israel. No one ever told me why I was circumcised. I found that out after I started reading the Torah. You understand? So when he's telling you guys, and he's telling all of us that you guys are the ones who are going to do these deals, you're the ones who are going to, when you guys are getting into your land, when you lived a long time in the land, you guys, you are going to corrupt yourselves. Okay, you're going to corrupt yourself. And I call on the earth to witness against you, that you will quickly disappear from the land that you are crossing. They lived there for quite some time, but then them and their children, you will not prolong your days there. You will be completely destroyed. You see? And listen to 27, Yahweh will scatter you among the peoples and among the nations. Did he? Okay, so the individuals that he's talking to on this day, because this was the Yom Zeh. Yom Zeh means this day. On that day that he was telling them that, are those the people that were scattered among the nations? No, they weren't. So the you that he's talking to is the ones that were inside of them, their seed. You understand? So Yahweh will lead you away and you'll be left few in number. So who is he talking to? He said, I'm talking to those who are here and those who are not here. You guys got to understand that. And listen, and there you will serve gods, which are the product of human hands, made of wood and stone, which cannot see, hear, or eat, or smell. So is he still talking to the same 40-year-old person who was here? No. Is he talking to the child that was there? No, they weren't scattered. However, from there, you will seek Yahweh, your Elohim, and you will find him. So the individuals that here were not in captivity. None of them ever saw exile. That's what's so powerful, because Moshe is talking to us. That's why when we read this, this is one of the reasons why you and I cannot forsake the Torah. That's why he said, if you listen to, you do exactly what I'm telling you to do, it will be exactly what I'm ordering you to do. So when he's talking to them, he's literally talking to us. That's where it's at. In your distress, when all these things have come upon you in the Akarith Hamayim, were they part of the Akarith Hamayim? The Akarith means the latter days. In the latter days. So why are they at the latter days? No, you are. We are in the latter days. He says, that's you will return to Yahweh, your Elohim, and listen to what he says. Yahweh, your Elohim, by contract, is a merciful Elohim. We saw that in Exodus chapter number 34. He will not fail you. He will not destroy you. He will not forget the covenant with your ancestors, which he swore to them. So when Moshe is talking to you here, he's talking to us. And guess what? The cold part is, in the language, this you here, okay? And I can verify it because I don't want to just say it without verifying it. All those yous right there in am I 28? Where am I at? Oh, I'm in 428. So if we look at 428 in Hebrew, let's verify if it's an individual or if it's a plural. Okay, because if it's plural, then you know for sure that the you is talking to them. But if it's an individual, then you know, and he could certify that the words that he's saying are for the individual. So let's look at it. I know in 30, he talks to them and then he switches it from them to an individual. So in Deuteronomy chapter number 4, verse number 28, let's go look at it right quick. And let's see if it's Eloheinu or see if it's Aleka or Elenu. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Or Kim or Ka, let's see. So I said it in 24. Okay, the warning of idolatry. Okay, we'll go right here. Okay. All right, so that's the end of teaching. That's the putuka right there. So let's just start right here in 25. Yes. Okay, so he says, when you beget children, banim and uvanim, the banim, and you, okay, plural, have grown old in the land. Okay, so we got this plural NP on there. And then he says in the land, and you, plural, have corrupted yourselves, and you make your form of anything that you do, individual, in the sight of Yahweh your Eloheka. Okay. Here he doesn't say Elohenu, and he doesn't say Elohe Kim. He said Eloheka, singular. Anything that your Elohim. Okay. And the reason why it's in a singular, you guys, is because even though you got a group of people that he was talking to, Yah knows that there's only going to be individuals, okay, who will accept Yahweh. That's why it's written in the second person singular, masculine singular. That's why he says your Elohim. Okay, if he said Elohim, see this ka right here means singular. Okay, that's singular. Okay, and this verb right here is in a plural. That's why it's called tim. And the mem is on it, and that's why it's plural. Okay, so he says anything that you guys do, you do evil in the sight of Yahweh your Elohim. Meaning, even though I'm talking to a group, only a certain amount of you guys have made Yahweh your Elohim. Okay, and okay, that's what it is, because not everybody wants Yah to be their God. So then he says you'll provoke him. I call witness against you. Is he talking to a group? Yes, he is. He's talking to a group right here. I call witness against you, Kim. So the Kim there is plurality, meaning the nation. He's not talking to an individual right there. All right. So these are the things that you got to pick up when you're reading the text, because you could be an individual, or it could be a singular, or it could be plural. He says, for heaven and earth against you, and utterly you will perish. Okay. Plural. Quickly, soon from the land which you, atem, plural, cross over the Jordan to go there, to possess. Now, let's continue. Then he says, you will not prolong your days, plural, in it, but it will be utterly destroyed. And Yah will, okay, and will scatter, wahafitz, Yahweh, scatter what? He's going to scatter etkim, which is you, plural, okay, right here, etkim. That kim right there lets you know that it's plural. There's a mem right here, right there. It's called a mem. It means plural on the end of a word, okay? Then he says among the peoples, that's plural, okay? So you get your grammar here too. And then you will what? You'll be left few in number. Still talking to the nation. And then he says, from there, from number, okay, and where Yah will drive you, Etkim, there. And you, group, will serve gods of wood, gods of work of hands of men of wood and stone, which neither you see nor swear or hear or eat, okay? Nor do they what? Nor do they smell, okay? Then he says again, if you, nation, from there, Yahweh, if you would seek Yahweh from there, talking to nation, you, aha, that's what I wanted to show you. Okay, guys, so what's wrong with WID? Okay, so here it is, you guys. Teaching. So you can understand what you is. You could be a singular, it could be plural. So here it says, du uvak kashtim. Okay, that tim is plural. That's what that NP means. It means masculine, and then the P is plural. Okay, that's right here. Okay, if you would seek him, he's talking to the nation again. And the nation are the individuals that consist of the nation. Okay, it takes a whole bunch, more than one, to make up a nation. And he says, Misham eth Yahweh. So if you, from there, from the places you were scattered, you will seek Yahweh, your Eloheka, individual, your Elohim, okay? You, masculine, singular, umatzatha. This ta right here, okay, is singular. So why did you go from talking about you nation to singular? Because it's up to the individual. Okay. Because all individuals, you got several individuals, they can make up the nation. They can make up a nation if you get a few people together. Yah says, I can take, a few of you and I can make a nation. Moshe, he told Moshe, I can use you alone by yourself and make a nation. But Yah will chop our numbers down, but he's saying as individuals, as singles, an individual has to make up their mind to find Yahweh. He's given the invitation to the nation, but it's up to the individual who's actually going to find him. Do you guys see that? I don't want to confuse you. I want to really get you to understand that the nation is the uvashim, the Tim right here. He's talking to the nation. He's giving an invitation to the nation. He says from there, because the nation was scattered, not the individual. Out of the nation comes the individual who will find him. And that's who you are. Okay. So the one that he scattered is what? The nation. Okay. When he scattered the nation to all the four corners of the earth, then he tells when you, me and you, me or you, the individual out of this nation. So there's my point, that when he says, I'm talking to you who are standing here and in the individual that is not standing here today, I'm making this covenant. Any questions on that?
Nope, not for me.
You guys have any
I have a question.
yes.
So how can I put this? Okay, so it's the individual out of the nation that was scattered who will accept him or not. When Yah brings us to our home, will it be even those who have not accepted him? And
no.
Then he'll
I'm sorry for cutting you off. No, and I'll show that to you.
Okay. That was my question.
Yeah, let me show it to you. Okay. I'm going to show it to you. All right. So before we go to that, and you're not going to have to remind me because it's one of the best places. I love that chapter. I wanted to show you that out of the nation is the individual who he's saying, okay, nation, seek me from there. Okay. So the nation that he's warning and talking to this day right here, that he said, if you would seek you individual, a nation, if the nation of Israel that he was talking to, he says, I'm scattering this nation. I'm scattering you. I know what I'm going to do. Okay. So you and I were standing there. That's what I'm trying to get you to see. But I don't want you to see it. I want to show it to you. Okay. So the nation is the individual. When you're in other lands, you're the one out of the nation who's going to find him. You're the one who's going to find him.
Okay.
Okay. Now let me show it to you. So you could be like, well, my soul is this is good for my soul. Now my soul knows for sure that WID is not making up a religious thing. He's actually showing us exactly what the creator is showing him to show us. So in chapter number 29, okay, and I'm going to go verse number 10, 29 and 10. Okay. And I'm also going to put it in English, and I'm going to read it in English first so you can feel comfortable about what I'm about to show you. Because in the Hebrew, sometimes it can be intimidating, like, well, I don't know, maybe, the way, I don't understand the language. So why would you show that to me if I don't know it? And sometimes I get it, because I know the language, I'll be like, okay, well, I'm just going to show them this. Well, you may not know it. So let me read it in English. Okay. Let me read it in English. This is what it says. All right. And I'm going to do it justice. These are the words of the covenant which Yahweh ordered Moshe to make with the people, the sons of Israel, meaning daughters and sons, in the land of Moab, in addition to the covenant that he made with them in Koreb. Not like he's making another covenant. It's the same covenant. He's just regurgitating it. He's letting them know, we waited 40 years and I ain't saying nothing to you guys about the covenant. You guys, we had to wait for everybody to die. We had to. Now that I'm doing this, I'm letting you know that the Most High did not show up on fire again. Now he just ordered Moshe to tell the people in the land of Moab before they go into the land, I want you to tell the people about the covenant before they go into the land, which I made with them in Koreb. This is an addition. This means the second time. That's why the book of Deuteronomy is called the that's where they got the Greek word. Deuteronomy comes from the word of means second, a reading of the law. They call it the second law, which is basically saying it's the second time that it was mentioned. Okay. So then Moshe summoned all Israel and said to them, you saw everything Yahweh did before your eyes in the land of Egypt to Pharaoh and all his servants and all this land. Okay. Is this a true statement? Yeah, some of them did, but there was other kids after 40 years. Did they see it? I need some answers. If Yah killed the first generation and he said everybody from the ages of 20 and up are dying, okay? And those other kids that were 19 and below, except for Joshua and Caleb, everybody from their age below was 20 years old and under. There weren't even kids, and during the 40 years, there were kids that were born to these people. They had other babies, and they did not see everything that Moshe just said, but he just said that you did see it. So that's a clue, okay? He says, you saw everything that Yahweh did before your eyes in the land of Egypt to Pharaoh and all his servants into all his land. Now, all them babies didn't see that, but again, the principle about them being there, I'm trying to tell you something. The great testing which you saw with your own eyes and the signs and those great wonders. Nevertheless, to this day, Yahweh has not given you a heart to understand, eyes to see, and ears to hear, even though they saw that, or some of them saw it. He said he ain't gave it to you. I led you 40 years in the desert. Neither your clothes on your body or your shoes on your feet wore out. You didn't eat bread, okay? And you didn't drink any wine or any other intoxicating liquor, which this was so that you would know, okay, that I am Yahweh, your Elohim. That's the reason why. When you arrived at this place, Sikon, the king of Heshbon, and Og, and the king of Bashan, advanced against us in battle, and we defeated them. We took their land and gave it as an inheritance to Reuben, Gadi, and Manasseh. Therefore, observe the words of this covenant and obey them, so that you can make everything you do prosper. Today, you are standing, all of you, before Yahweh, your Elohim, your heads, your tribes, your leaders, and your officers, all the men of Israel, along with your little ones, your wives, your foreigners who are with you in your camp, from the one who chops your wood to the one who draws your water. The purpose is that you should enter, listen to this. The purpose is that you should enter into the covenant of Yahweh, your Elohim, and into his oath, which Yahweh, your Elohim, is making with you today. Okay? This is the purpose, is that you should enter into the covenant of Yahweh, your Elohim, and into his oath, which Yahweh, your Elohim, is making with you today. Okay? So this is the day before they were going to go into this land. He's reestablishing with them. I'm going to recite to you the covenant, and I'm going to tell you the oath before you go in there, because I'm trying to get you up on it so you won't get put out, okay? So that he can establish you today for himself as a people, so that for you, he will be Elohim, as he said to you and as he swore to your ancestors, to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. But I am not making this covenant an oath, and this oath only with you. Rather, I'm making it both with him who is standing here with us today before Yahweh our Elohim, and also with him who is not standing here with us today. Okay, so the question is, listen to this. The question is, the individuals that were not standing there, he already knew who they were. That's why he's making a covenant with them and the ones who are not standing there. That means every descendant that comes to Israel is supposed to come through Israel. That's why they're not haphazard souls that are being put. These are special people. He knows that every descendant that comes, they're going to be underneath this oath and this covenant. They don't, all because you and I wasn't born at that time doesn't mean we're not part of the covenant. We're part of the covenant. We weren't even there. You and I never heard. But so your destiny has already done. Yah already knows who's going to turn on him. He already knows. And let me show you to you, Sister Pam. Okay. So in the book of, because I want to answer that question, in the book of Ezekiel, and Ezekiel is dealing with the exiles. And this is a good chapter for you to always remember because it talks about the exiles. Now, remember, anytime before Yahweh brings us in the land, he always does a few things. He circumcises the people before they go into the land. He tells them about the covenant before he brings them into the land. He washes and cleanses them before he visits them and tells them to wash themselves. And he comes and then he reveals himself to them and then they can go on the land. You understand? So right now, Moshe is telling them what Yah said, and guess what? Joshua had to circumcise those people. That's when probably chapter number 1 of Joshua. He circumcised everybody that wasn't circumcised before they went to the land. Moshe's giving them the heads up about the covenant before they go into the land. So when we're not in the land, that's the time where we have to get things right, and you have to figure out who's who. So chapter number 18, it begins off with these words. It says, the word of Yahweh came to me. Who? Ezekiel. And he says, what does it mean that you keep quoting this proverb in the land of Israel? When parents eat sour grapes, their children's teeth are set on edge. He's asking him a question. As I live, says Yahweh Elohim, I swear that you will never again quote this proverb in Israel. Okay. The reason why they were quoting this is because whatever the children or the parents were suffering, and whatever the parents did, the children were suffering from it. Okay. They were the beneficiaries of their parents' actions. So whatever the parents did, Yah says, hey, everybody's going to feel it. The children, you guys are the ones who want to eat sour grapes. You're not only you're going to feel it, the sourness of it, but I'm also going to put the children's teeth on it too. They're going to feel it as well. Yah says there's coming a time that that's not going to be said anymore. That's what Yah just said. He swears that you will never again quote this proverb in Israel. We can verify this in chapter number 31, okay, of the book of Jeremiah. Let me show it to you because it's important, because I want you to understand what that means. I don't want to say something and you don't understand what it means, and it'll tell you what it means, okay? So Bible versions, just go take a quick minute. I want to give you the contrast. I want to show it to you. The comparable, excuse me, not the contrast, the comparable. I want to show you the comparable on it. The comparable on it is Jeremiah, where this is what they were always saying. And Yah saying that's never going to be quoted again, because I'm going to do something different. And here's what he says. Chapter 31, verse number 29 says this. He says, okay, here is 27. Here the days are coming, says Yahweh, when I will sow the house of Israel and the house of Yehuda with the seed of humans and animals. Okay. And at the time, just as I used to watch over them with the intent to uproot, break down, overthrow, destroy, and do harm, so then I will watch over them to build and plant, says Yahweh. When those days come, they will no longer say, the fathers have eaten sour grapes and the children's teeth are set on edge. Rather, now this is what it means, okay? Each will die for his own sin. Everyone who eats sour grapes, his own teeth will be set on the edge. So when Yah is talking about is when I sent in the soldiers to go kill the fathers, and I said, well, as a result of me killing the fathers and the mothers, the sons and the daughters and everybody else got killed too. I'm not going to ever do that again. That'll never happen again. Why? Because I'm getting rid of all the wicked people. I'm getting rid of all the wicked people. I'm getting rid of them. Here the days are coming, says Yahweh, well, I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel, meaning I'm going to renew the covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Yehuda. It will not be like the covenant which I made with their fathers on the day when I took them by their hand and then led them out of Egypt, because for their part, they violated my covenant, even though on my part, I was a husband to them, says Yahweh. For this is the covenant I will make with the house of Israel after those days, says Yahweh. And here's the covenant. Not that I'm going to change the 10 words, not going to change the Shabbat. I'm going to change you shouldn't honor your mother and father, you shouldn't steal, or none of that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the Torah within them. I'm going to put it within them now. And I'm going to write it, not the, listen to this, not the words of thou shalt not, thou shalt, none of that. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is the instructions that I told Moshe. Okay. I'm not getting rid of my covenant. My covenant is everlasting. And this is where people get confused because they think that the covenant and the Torah are one and the same. They're not. The covenant here is the agreement that Yah made with Israel, which are the 10 words. That I'm Yahweh, your Elohim. He's not changing that. That you shouldn't steal. He has not going to change that. That you should not commit adultery. He's not changing that. He's not saying that. Well, he wrote it on stone. Now he's going to write it on your heart. No, all the words that he said, Moshe put it on stone so it can never be changed and put in the Ark of the Covenant. Okay, that's why it's called the Ark, because it's holding the 10 words, which are Yah's testimonies. Yah is not changing that. Now Yah says, I'm going to put my Torah within them and I'm going to write it on their hearts. Then Torah is the instructions that he told Moshe. Here's the instructions. When you got to bring an offering, you'll know how to do it. When you got to keep the new moon, you'll know what to do it. When it talks about the Shabbat, you'll know when to do it. You'll never ask anybody else, well, what does this mean? Because Yah says, I will be their Elohim and they will be my people when I do this. They no longer will any of them teach his fellow community member or his brother. Why are you talking about teaching? Because Yah says Moshe was your teacher. I'm not going to notice there won't be anyone teaching you. So the Torah was given to Moshe and he wrote it down and he put the copy of the Torah on the side of the Ark of the Covenant. The Torah and the covenant are two different documents. That's what people don't understand. So that's why he's saying no one's going to teach this to them anymore. Because the Torah teaches us how to wash our bodies, how to clean, how to do this, how to bring the offerings, how to do all those types of things. He says, and listen, they will know me. They will know Yahweh from all of them, from the least to the greatest. Because when Moshe was speaking, or when Yah was speaking, he spoke, and then the children of Israel came and said, we don't want to hear what you have to say anymore. We're tired. We're scared. We want to go back to our tents. They didn't want to go up on the mountain. Yah says, good, send them back to their tent and you come up here and I'll teach you everything so you can teach them. So what Yah's talking about right here is that I'm no longer let anybody teach the people of Israel. You guys are not going to need Moshe. You're not going to need a teacher anymore. I'm not going to have anybody standing between me and you. I'm going to do this myself. And no one will teach his fellow community member or his brother to know Yahweh, because that's how you get to know Yahweh, is through teaching, through his word. He said that's not going to happen anymore. Okay. But I wanted to show you the part where, and I got a little sidetracked, where he's talking about the children eating sour grapes, which has to do with, I'm not going to let anybody die because someone else did something. I'm not going to let that happen anymore. The days are coming in 31 when I will make a new covenant. Let me see, before that, 29, those days will come. 30, each person, each individual will die for his own sin. The Yah sin, that's the day that's coming. Okay, so that's in Jeremiah. I'm gonna move quickly now. Now we're back in Ezekiel. Okay, so he says, we already read that. He says, look, all lives belong to me. Both the parent's life and the child's life, they're equally mine. Now he's going to explain why the father and the mother is not going, or anybody else, he's not going to hold anybody responsible. So is the person who sins. He himself must die. This confirms the words that Jeremiah was told by Yahweh. It's the same identical thing. Okay. He says, consider someone who is righteous, who does what is lawful and right. That's a righteous person. He doesn't eat on the mountains, raise his eyes toward the idols of the house of Israel. He doesn't defile his neighbor's wife, touch his wife during menstrual cycle. He doesn't do any wrong. Okay. He doesn't do any of those things, right? He's telling them this is what a righteous person is. I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to skip right quick because everyone knows what this is. Or you should know that 18 is talking about those sins. But I got to answer your question, which is in chapter number 20. It was on the 10th day of the 5th month of the 7th year, an Israel leader came to consult Yahweh, and they sat with me. Ezekiel's talking. The word of Yahweh came to me. He said, human being, speak to Israel's leaders and tell them that Yahweh Elohim says, or asks, excuse me, what have you come to consult me? As I live, says Yahweh Elohim, I swear I will not let you consult me. They wanted some answers from Yah. Okay. Listen what Yah says. He asked the question, are you going to judge them? Human being, are you going to judge them? Okay. Then have them realize how disgusting their ancestors' practices were. Because this whole chapter, chapter number 20, you guys, is talking about Yah's going to tell them how he's going to judge them. This whole chapter is about what Yah's intention is and how he has and what he's going to do in the future. He says, you need to tell them how disgusting it was. Tell them in verse 5 that Yahweh Elohim says this, back on the day when I chose Israel, I raised my hands to the descendants of the house of Yaakov. I revealed myself to them in the land of Egypt. I raised my hand to them and I said, I am Yahweh, your Elohim. I raised my hand and I told them that. That means I swore to them that I was their Elohim. On the day I raised my hand to them, pledging, I made a pledge to bring them out of the land of Egypt into a land I had reconnoitered, meaning I went and searched out for them, a land flowing with milk and honey, the most beautiful of all lands. 7, I told them while they're in Egypt, each of you is to throw away your detestable things to draw your eyes, which is their idols. Do not defile yourselves with the idols of Egypt. Okay, I'm Yahweh your Elohim. I told them that before they even left Egypt. But what did they do? But they rebelled against me and they wouldn't listen to me. They didn't. They did not. Each one of them throw away their detestable things that draws their eyes. Okay, why is he saying this? Because he told them, if you're going to judge them, I need you to tell them what they're doing, what their ancestors are doing. They're doing exactly what their ancestors did. Is this not what our people here are doing in these countries? That if we're going to tell them anything, he says, you need to tell them when you guys were in Egypt, like we are right here in our slavery, I'm telling you right now, get rid of the idols. And a lot of people are not going to let go of JC. They're not going to let him go. They're not getting rid of their idols. He says, I told them why they were in the land of Egypt. Get rid of your idols. So he's asking them why they're in exile. Why is he bringing this story up? Because he knows that we're going to go back into exile. He knows we're going to go back to a place of slavery. And he knows he's going to say the same identical thing, which is get rid of your idols. But guess what they did? They rebelled against me. They rebelled against me and they wouldn't listen to me. This is what they did when they were in Egypt. They did not, each one of them, throw away their detestable things that drew their eyes, and they did not abandon the idols of Egypt or the idols of the United States of America or the idols of any other part of the land. Then I said, this was going to be the judgment. Then I said, I will pour out my fury. I'm going to pour out my fury on them. I'm going to pour out my fury on them and spend my anger on them in the land of Egypt. We didn't know this. We didn't know this because Yah didn't disclose it because it wasn't the right time to tell us this. He's telling them this because they're in exile. And they want to know what is Yah going to do to us while we're in exile? And he's trying to tell them while you're in exile, get rid of your idols. So Ezekiel, tell them that this is what happened. They need to know their history. So let me tell them. So then, and listen carefully, I said I was going to pour my fury on them. I'm going to spend my anger on all of them in the land of Egypt. But for concern of my own reputation, winning my name kept me from letting it be profaned in the sight of the nations. I want you to remember this. His name was being profaned. He said, I don't want my name to be profaned in the sight of the nations among whom they were living, because the people who were living in Egypt was not just the Egyptians. There were all different types of people, like the United States of America, with all type of nationalities and everything. There's a mixed multitude that came out with Israel when they left the nation. He said, I'm not going to do this in front of them. I'm not going to because I just introduced myself to them. So I don't want them to profane my name. I don't want to do it. I'm not going to let it be profane, because if I lifted my hand and I swore to them. The moment I lifted my hand, I swore that I was their Elohim. If I would have killed them, that would have tarnished my reputation among the people who they were living. They were living among these people in a sight of whom I have made myself known to them. I can't let it happen in order to bring them out of the land of Egypt. Because when I told them that I was going to bring them out of the land of Egypt, they ran around and told everybody that Yah was bringing us out. This wasn't a silent deal. These people were excited. They heard the word from Moshe. There was a whole bunch of talk going on. Our Elohim said he's come to get us. So I had them leave Egypt. So instead of me killing them, In verse 10, I had them leave Egypt and I brought them out into the desert. First time, listen carefully. I brought them out to the desert. I gave them my laws and showed them my rulings. If a person obeys them, he will have life through them. Okay. I gave them my Shabbats as a sign between me and them so that they would know that I, Yahweh, am he who makes them holy. I'm the one who sets you apart. That's what I'm trying to tell you about the Shabbat. I took you out from your slavery. That's why I told you in Deuteronomy 5 that you need to remember you were a slave, because I told you that you're my people now. And when I talk about making you holy, I'm talking about you're attached to me. And you got my name on you. So you can't profane my name. I'm the one who's making you holy because I'm the one who took you out. But the house of Israel rebelled second time. They rebelled with the idols, getting rid of the idols. So when he gave them the laws, they rebelled again. They rebelled against him not only in Egypt, they have rebelled against him in the desert after he brought them out. They did not live by my laws and they rejected my rulings. If a person does, he will have, or he or she, human being, will have life through them. Okay? We're almost done, but you need to hear this tonight so you can sleep on it. Moreover, they greatly profane my Shabbats. Then I said, this is what I said, Yahweh, I will pour out my fury on them in the desert. This is the second time. Second time a rebellion. Second time I'm threatening to kill them. I'm going to pour out my fury on them in the desert, not in Egypt, but in the desert. And in order to destroy them, I'm getting rid of them. But what? But concern for my reputation, which is my name, kept me from letting it be profaned second time in the sight of the nations who had seen when I brought them out. So these nations have seen with their own eyes what Yah has done for Israel. And he's saying because they saw it, they're the witnesses. So if I kill them, everybody's going to know that Yahweh killed Israel. They're going to know that. So therefore, they will never want to come to Yahweh again because he's the Elohim that grabs people, takes them out, and kills them in the desert. Yet I raised my hand and I swore to them a second time. This is the second swearing. He pledges again, second time. I raised my hand, I swore to them in the desert that I would not bring them into the land that I was giving them. And guess what? Did he live up to this promise? Yes, he did. He killed that generation. A land flowing with milk and honey, the most beautiful of all lands. You guys are not going in. Because what? Because they rejected my rulings and did not live by my laws and profaned my Shabbats, since their heart went after their idols. Because that's how you get away from Yah. You get away from Yah and you get away from his laws and you profane his Shabbats by idols. This is what he asked them to get rid of. They still had them in Egypt. They still had them in the desert. However, I spared them. Why? Because Moshe asked me to. He begged me. He's not telling you this right here, but he did. Moshe begged. However, I spared him because Moshe said, if you kill him, everybody's going to know you did it. And they'll say you brought him out here just to kill him. So what did he do? He said, I spared them from what? From complete destruction. I'm not going to completely destroy them. So I'm going to destroy everybody who's 20 years old and up. I'm getting rid of all of them. I did not completely finish them off in the desert. I said to their children in the desert, the ones who were 19 years old and below, and told them, don't live by the laws of your fathers, which he's telling you and I right now today, that he told us in Ezekiel 18, that it's not going to be the children who've eaten sour grapes whose teeth are set on edge because the parents decided they wanted to do evil. So I'm going to give the children an opportunity. So I asked the children, or I told them, don't live by the laws of your fathers. Big Mama, Grandpa, and everybody that just left. Don't do what they do. Don't do Christmas, Easter, none of that. Don't do anything that they did. Observe their rulings. I don't need you to do how they taught you. Don't defile yourselves with their idols that they gave you, Santa Claus and Easter Bunny. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. Live by my laws, observe my rulings, and obey them. So now we have Yahweh giving his voice and saying, don't listen to your ancestors. Don't listen to your father's and your mother's voice. Listen to my voice. Do what I'm telling you to do. And he says, keep, meaning guard my Shabbats, holy, separate them. Don't do like your ancestors. And they will be a sign between me and you so that you will know that I'm Yahweh, your Elohim. So now that's what he's talking about when he said, I said to them, I said to their children. This goes back to what he said in Deuteronomy chapter number what? Davarim that you and I were just in. Chapter number 4. when he says, I'm talking to you. Remember, if you guys do what I'm telling you, then he reaffirms in Deuteronomy chapter number 29. I'm not making this covenant with those who are standing here today, but those who are not here today. So it's going on and on and on. 20, we're almost done. Guard my Shabbats and make them holy, right? The Shabbats holy mean guard them. And they will be a sign between me and what? You, so that you will know that I am Yahweh your Elohim. If you don't keep the Shabbat and you won't honor it and you won't sanctify it, then I'm not your Elohim. Because you won't know that I'm your Elohim, because you won't know that I delivered you from slavery. If you do what I tell you, you will know who I am by what you do. But the children, they rebelled third time against me. They did not live by my laws. They did not observe my rulings to obey them. If a person does, he will live or have life. That's your life by them. And they profaned my Shabbats. They did exactly what I told them not to do. That's the third rebellion. Then I said, I will pour out my fury on them and spend my anger on them in the desert. I'm going to kill them too. Nevertheless, okay, I withdrew my hand again. This is the third time that he has withdrawn his hand. And he says, and allow concern for what? My reputation, which is my name. And what? To keep me from letting it be profane in the sight of the nations who had seen that I brought them out. I'm only doing this because of my reputation, because I'm the one who made a pledge to them that I would be their Elohim. 23, I also raised my hand and I swore to them a third time. So the second time is, hey, I'm just going to kill everyone 20 years old is dying. Now he swears a third time. This is what he says now. I swore, I raised my hand a third time. And I swore to them in the desert, who? These children, I will scatter them. That's what he says in Deuteronomy chapter number 4. I'm going to scatter you among the what? Nations. And I'm going to disperse them throughout the countries. I already told them this. I raised my hand. So that's why we're here today. Because he raised his hand, and guess when he raises his hand and he swears to do something, he's going to do it. Why? Because this is the Yaakov again. Because they had not obeyed my rulings, but have rejected my laws and profaned my Shabbats. And their eyes had turned towards their father's idols. Again, the idols is the key ingredient. They still haven't gotten rid of them. And when you got an idol, you will profane the Shabbats. You will not listen to Yah. 25, I also gave them laws which did them no good. To these kids, I talked to them, their children, which did them no good, and rulings which they did not live. They didn't want to live because they hate me. And I let them become defiled by their own gifts, in that they offered their firstborn sons so that I could fill them with revulsion, so that they would finally realize that I'm Yahweh. I let them do what they want to do now, so they can finally understand, meaning I'm going to bring the curse on them. You're killing your kids and everything. You guys are gone. I'm getting rid of you. 27, therefore, a human being. Now listen, he's talking to Ezekiel. Human beings, speak to the house of Israel. Why? Because I'm going to judge them, because that's how I asked you. Are you going to judge them? You need to tell the house of Israel this. Tell them that Yahweh Elohim says, moreover, your ancestors blasphemed me by breaking faith with me still in another way. It wasn't just everything they did with their idols and all that. They still broke faith with me. For after I have brought them into the land, what did they do? What I raised my hand to pledge to give to them, which I promised. They noted all the high hills and the leafy trees and offered there their sacrifices, and they made offerings to provoke my anger, and they set out their sweet aromas, and there they poured out their drink offerings. So not only were they in Egypt doing what they want to do with their idols, then their parents did what they wanted to do with their idols. The children did what they do. I kept telling them, follow my laws, get rid of your idols, keep my Shabbats. And then I told them I'm going to scatter them. I promised them that. Even after I did that, they still, when I brought them into the land, these children, when I brought them in there, they still continued to do what they wanted to do. Now, 29, when I asked them, the high places where you're going, why they're in their land, what is the meaning of it? They gave it the name Bama, which is retained to this day. So tell the house of Israel, tell them the house of Israel, all the family, that's the house of Israel, that Yahweh Elohim says this, you are defiling yourselves in the same way as your ancestors, okay? Following their abominations, and you're fornicating with them. And when offering your gifts and you make your children pass through the fire and defile yourselves with all your idols, even to this day, these are people still in their exile. So am I supposed to allow you to consult me? Meaning you have a conversation, house of Israel? As I live, says Yahweh Elohim, I swear, I'm raising my hand. I will not have you consult me. And that what you have in mind when you say we will be like the nations, because that's what Goyim means, because that's where they are right now. They're among the nations. They're saying, this is what Israel's saying. Israel's saying we're going to be like the Goyim. We're going to do Christmas. We're going to do Christmas. We're going to do Easter. We're going to follow their ways. We're going to follow their religion. We're going to keep their gods. We're doing everything they're doing. That's what they want to be. We're going to be Christians. We're going to be Muslims. We're going to do everything they're doing. We're going to be Buddhists. We're going to do it all. Okay. So when they're saying this is what they're saying. He's telling them, you guys have a whole intention of being like somebody else, like the nations. This is what you want. This is why you never let go of your idols, because you didn't want to be my people. You want to be like the Goyim, and you want to be like all the other families of the earth and all the other families of the country. And you want to serve wood and stone. You want to serve the cross. You want to serve that Sona in Medina and Mecca. You want to serve them. That's what you want to do. And guess what? Certainly will not happen. It's not going to happen. It will certainly not happen. Why? Because Yah's letting us know. As I live, says Yahweh Elohim, I swear, I'm raising my hand right now, and I'm telling you what it is. That surely with a mighty hand, now you need to hear this, Israel. With a mighty hand, right here, with a mighty hand. The mighty hand and a stretched out arm, like he did when he took us out of Egypt, and will pour out fury. That's fire. I myself will be king over you. He's letting them know how I'm going to judge you. He's letting them know how I'm okay, because guess where they are? Where's Israel right now? Israel is among the nations. That's why he says that you guys said you want to be like them. That's why he's talking to the exiles, and he gave us that story to let us know that why are you in exile? I'm letting you know that I'm judging you. I'm going to judge you, and I'm preparing you for judgment. Israel we want to be like the Goyim. We want to do Thanksgiving. We want to eat like them. We want to dress like them. We want to talk like them. We want to live like them. We want to work like them. We want to do all that. Yah says that you want to be like the families of other countries, and you want to serve wood and stone. He said, will certainly not happen. It's not Israel's end. Now, I'm going to tell you now, this is going to answer your question, Sister Pam. I brought you all the way here to give you context. As I live, says Yahweh Elohim, I swear, I'm raising my hand again with a mighty hand, like the one I brought you out of Egypt, and a stretched out arm to take you away from the nations, and will pour out fury, which is fire. Okay, I myself will be king over you. And he mentions no other person. I myself are going to be king over you. I will bring you out from the peoples, the nations, the Goyim, who you want to be like, and I'm going to gather you from all the countries, from the Goyim, which you want to be like, and that you were scattered, because I promised your people that I told you that you were scattered. So the you here is the same you that he talked to in the wilderness. The you here is the same ones who are in the nations right now. The you here. So we were in the wilderness. Do you understand that?
Yes.
We're in the wilderness. We're the same ones that were in the wilderness that he said, I'm going to wipe you out, and never did. We're the same ones he says, I'm telling you who are standing here and you that ain't here today. I'm telling you right now. I already told you that if you didn't get rid of your idols, I was going to scatter you. I raised my hand, and my second time of raising my hand was to scatter you. So guess what? The you that I raised my hand to be scattered in the wilderness is the you who's sitting right here among the nations. You are these people. You're the ones who are among the nations from the peoples, and you're the ones that I'm gathering. You're the same ones that were in the wilderness, and you're the same ones that were scattered. You're the same ones that I'm going to give with a mighty hand and a stretched arm. And I'm going to pour out my fury this time. I withheld my hand from killing everybody because, and I told you in the wilderness that, you know what, I'm not going to completely destroy them. I'm going to just kill the people that I told you. I'm letting you know right now that I'm going to do the same identical thing. Here it is in 35. So we're these people. 35. Then Then what? After I gather you, after you've been scattered, then I'm going to bring you out. I'm going to gather you from where you were scattered with a mighty hand stretched out and poured out fury. Then I will bring you into the desert again. You hear me? Like if these, like he told you, I brought you all the strong arm out of Egypt. And guess what? I didn't pour no fury out in Egypt. I didn't. I just brought you out a mighty hand and a stretched out arm. I didn't pour no fury out on Egypt. I didn't. You could go read it. This was never included in what he brought out of Egypt. He just did plagues. This poured out fury right here is fire and indignation. He says, then after I do bring you out with this fire, when I bring you out, then I'm going to bring you individual, okay, into the desert of the peoples. And I'm going to judge you. That's why I began in verse number 4. It told you, are you going to judge these people? I had to give you context and tell you the story so you'll know exactly how I'm going to judge you. I'm going to judge you, okay, the ones that I brought out face to face. And how did I judge you face to face? Just as I judged your ancestors in the desert, exactly the same way, just as I judged your ancestors. So the ancestors that got judged in the wilderness in the land of Egypt, I'm going to judge you the same way. How did he judge them? He killed them. He killed those who rebelled the first time. He didn't kill the children, but he brought the children in, but they rebelled too. I got bad news. Okay, here's the bad news. So Yah's going to judge us like he did our ancestors. So that means death. I'm going to plead with you same way. Same way I talked to your ancestors. Now listen, when he pleaded with them, judgment means he pleaded with them. Yah's telling us when he brings us back out to the desert, he's going to show up again the same way he did with our ancestors. He's going to show up on the mountain of fire. Okay. He's going to come in a cloud of darkness, the shofar and everything. He's going to do exactly the same identical thing he did the first time. Just as I judged your ancestors in the desert in the land of Egypt after I brought them out, I'm paraphrasing because that's what he's letting you know. When I bring you guys out to the deserts of the peoples, I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Here's the deserts of the peoples. Here's the desert land of Egypt. So every time I bring someone out, I bring them to the desert. And when I bring you there, I'm only bringing you to the desert, the wilderness, to judge you, to find out whether you're going to do what I say. He says, I will make you pass under the crook of what? I'm going to make you pass under the crook. The crook is the shepherd's staff, and bring you into the obligations of the covenant. Since you broke it, I'm going to bring you into the covenant. I'm going to bring you into the obligation of it because you said that you would keep it. So now we're going to go over this obligation of this covenant. I'm going to bring you into it. So the 10 words that I spoke to you, not the Torah. I told you that I'm Yahweh your Elohim, Anoki Elohim, Asher Hoshitika Demea Resa Misraim. I'm the Elohim, I'm Yahweh who brought you out of the land of Misraim. I'm your savior. You are not to make anyone else the image of any other God. You are not to mention the name of any other Elohim. You're not to use my name in vain and count it as worthless. You're to keep the Shabbat. You are not to commit murder. You are not to commit adultery. You're not to steal, lie, covet. None of those things. You are to honor your mother and father. I'm going to hold you to that covenant. So my judgment for you is predicated upon the obligations of the covenant. I'm judging you based on the words that you heard. You're my witnesses. You heard what I said. So if you don't keep this covenant, this is what you're going to be judged according to. You're not going to be judged according to the Torah because you can't keep all of the Torah. You're just trying to keep it. The words that the only way I can judge you is based on what you heard from me. So how is he going to hold us responsible for hearing something you said? You and I said we didn't hear it. We weren't there. And he said, no, you heard it. You were there. You and I were there. All because you don't remember it doesn't mean that you weren't there. You were there. He cannot hold you and I accountable to something that you and I, he did not tell us. We were there. Do you understand? And he says, when I bring you out there, I'm going to do you exactly the same way, just as I did your ancestors. There's nothing new here. Then he says, I will rid you. I will get rid of the rebels. Who are the rebels? The people I told not to get rid of their idols when they were in Egypt, they didn't get rid of. The people that I'm talking to in the lands and scattered all over the place, I'm telling them to get rid of the idols. But they want to hold on to JC. They got rid of JC. They're holding on to Yeshua. I'm killing you because you're in revolt against me, not against us, against me, Yahweh. I will bring them out from the land. So I'm going to bring these rebels out where they're living. I'm going to do that, but they will not enter the land of Israel. And the only reason why they're not in the land of Israel is because when he talked with the first rebels that he got rid of, who wouldn't go into the land because they wouldn't do what Yahweh says, he says, I'm going to kill you in the wilderness. And that's exactly what he's going to do. He says, after I do this to them and they're not going in the land, then you'll know that I'm Yahweh. Then you'll know. Then you'll know that I mean what I say. Then you'll know that I'm the one who gave you the covenant and told you I'm Yahweh, Anoki Yahweh. I'm Yahweh to what? I'm the Hotzithika. I'm the one who brought you out from the land of Mizraim. That's the covenant. And I'm going to hold you to that covenant. But guess what? As far as for you, house of Israel, here's what Yahweh Elohim says, because that's judgment. Go on. Go on serving your idols, every one of you. Why is he telling them to go serve their idols? Because he says, I'm telling you right now, you will listen to me and you will no longer profane my holy name with your gifts and your idols. So here's the kicker. In closing, here's the kicker. Yah didn't kill Israel in the wilderness, all of Israel in the wilderness. He didn't completely wipe them out because the nations had saw. The first time that he brought them out of Egypt, he says, I can't kill them while they're in Egypt because I raised my hand and I told everybody I was their Elohim. I can't, they watched, they saw me do this. They made a declaration that I'm their, and I said it in front of the world. So I pleaded, I raised my hand in front of the heavens and the earth and said, I'm your Elohim. So the nations, they knew about it. Pharaoh knew about it. Everyone else is going to know about it. The nations saw me bring them out. All the nations, Moab, Edom, all of them, all the surrounding nations and everybody that Pharaoh told and wrote about. He said, I kept you around. I could have killed everybody, but I didn't because I want you to go and tell everybody what I did to be a witness. So that's why I didn't wipe you out. I could have, but I didn't. So Israel, he said, I wasn't going to wipe you out, but I told you to get rid of your idols. You wouldn't. And I said, ooh, I want to kill them, but I can't. They saw what I did. So I brought them out to the desert and I asked them, hey, get rid of your idols. And guess what? They didn't. So guess what I did? You thought it was only because they didn't go to the land that I wiped out them. I wiped them out because of their idols too. Because the only reason why I didn't do what I said, the only reason why I became cowards is because they were following their idols. They were listening to someone else. So instead of me killing all of them, completely wiping them out and pouring out my fury on them, I said, no, I'll keep the ones, I'll kill the older ones and we'll start with the younger ones. Then I went to the younger ones. Gave them the same laws. I said, hey, listen, don't do what your parents did. Get rid of your idols. While they're in the desert, they wouldn't get rid of their idols. So, but I didn't destroy them that time either because I wanted to too, but they saw that I brought them out. So I can't do it now again. So the whole time that I'm trying to preserve my reputation, I haven't responded yet because I'm preserving my reputation because the nation saw this. Now that I've scattered them, Yah didn't say now, he didn't say that he's trying to preserve his reputation now. That's why he's going to pour out fury. And when he's going to do it, he's not, because guess what? Here's the bad news. You guys, here's the really bad news. The reason why he's not going to spare this time, he's going to pour out this fury, is because Israel has been profaning his name in the nations. They've been sinning against Yah in the nations. So now this time he's saying, I don't want to profane my name. But now he says, you've been profaning my name, like he just said, right? Ezekiel 37 says this. 37 says, because you have been profaning my name. Listen to this. 23 says, Yahweh says in 21, then say to them that Yahweh Elohim says, I will take the people of Israel from among the nations which they have gone and gather them from every side and bring them back to their own land. I will make them one nation in the land and on the mountains of Israel, and one king will be king for all of them. They will no longer be two nations, and they will no longer be divided into two kingdoms. They will never again defile themselves. Listen to this. They will never again defile themselves, okay, with their idols and detestable things or any of their transgressions. I will save them from the places where they've been living and sinning, and I will cleanse them so that they will be my people and I will be their Elohim. And so my servant David will be king over them. Yahweh will be king over them. and all of them will have one shepherd, and they will observe my rulings and keep my regulations. They will live in the land that I gave to Yaakov, my servant, and where their ancestors lived, and they will live there, and their children, their grandchildren forever. They're never going to be put out again. And David, my servant, will be their leader forever. I will make a covenant of peace with them, okay, an everlasting covenant. I will give to them, increase their numbers, and set my sanctuary among them. And my home will be with them, and I will be their Elohim, and they will be my people. The nations will know that I'm Yahweh, the Elohim, who sets them apart as holy, right? Israel is apart as holy when my sanctuary is among them forever. That's part of it. But chapter number 36, which I wanted to show you, was this, that you and I are profaning Yah's name. Okay, here it is. I scattered them among the nations, in verse 19, and dispersed them throughout the countries. I judged them in keeping with the manner of their life and actions. When they came to the nations where they were going, they profaned my holy name. So that all the people said of them, who the people, the nations, these are Yahweh's people who have been exiled from his land. He says, but I'm concerned about my holy name, which the house of Israel has been profaning among the nations where they have gone. Therefore, tell the house of Israel, Yahweh Elohim says this, I am not going to do this for your sake, house of Israel, but for the sake of my holy name, which you have been profaning among the nations where you went, right? I set my great name to be regarded as holy, since it has been profaned in the nations. You profaned it among them. The nations will know that I'm Yahweh. Now, how are they going to know that? When before their eyes, I'm set apart through you to be regarded as holy. Guess how he's going to do it? He's going to take us from among the nations. He's going to gather us from the countries and return you to your own soil. Then he's going to sprinkle us clean water, and then he will be clean. And he's going to cleanse you from all your uncleanness and from all your idols. And I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit inside of you. But this does not include the rebels. It doesn't include the rebels. But the nations have seen Yah's name has been profaned. So all the times that he said I didn't destroy Israel in their sight was because he said, I don't want to profane my name. Now we see that his name has been profaned. So now he's saying, okay, now I'm going to pour out my fury. So when he talks about pouring out his fury, he's going to kill Israel. He's not going to kill all of us. He's going to kill everybody who has gone against him. And where's he going to kill them? He's going to kill them in the wilderness. That's where he's going to kill Israel. He's not going to kill Israel in front of anybody. That's the reason why he never did it before, because the nations were looking. What he's going to do to the nations is he's going to destroy them, but he's going to spare. He's not going to destroy all of them. He said, I'm going to destroy them, but I'm going to make a full end of them, but I won't completely, because they have to be the witnesses. But what I'm going to do with you is I'm going to pull you out from them, but I'm going to burn them up. Okay, I'm going to burn them up in their sight, and you're going to survive. And they're going to be like, oh, they're set apart. Just like Egypt saw that Israel was set apart. When all the disasters happened, the only people that were not affected was Israel. So when this fire comes in the book of Malachi, it's not going to affect you and I. But when we get to the wilderness, because Yah said I'm bringing everybody out, young and old, everybody's going to the wilderness. When we go out to the wilderness, if you rebelled against Yahweh and you didn't get rid of your idols, because that's the rebel, I'm killing you. You won't go in the land of Israel. So, Sister Pam, your question was, what was your question? So I can be clear.
Of the ones who were scattered, the ones who accepted Yah, will they be dealt with in the desert? But I understand now they won't be.
No,
it will be the rebels.
It's the rebels. It's the people who, and every time he mentioned rebel in 18 or in 20, he talked about the individual who wouldn't get rid of their rebels. He talked about the individual who would not listen to his laws. He talked about the individual who did not sanctify his Shabbats. Mm-hmm. So here's the deal. They're breaking the covenant. Remember, he said they broke faith with me. They're worshiping idols. So mm-hmm. the things that the things that the ancestors did in the wilderness and the things that they did in Egypt, even prior to receiving the covenant. See, listen what I'm trying to tell us. Mm-hmm. Even before they even received the Torah or the instructions from Moshe, or even the covenant itself, Yah had warned them and told them to get rid of their idols. And they didn't. And guess what? He was going to kill them. Mm-hmm. So here's the thing. Now that they're in covenant means you got a for sure death sentence now. You got mm-hmm. it for sure now. So Yah is not saying that I needed to give you the covenant for you to get rid of your idols. Whether you got rid of whether you had the covenant or not, they were still going to be killed. He was still, I'm going to kill them. The moment that Yah speaks to us and he sends a prophet to tell us to do something, and then he tells us to do it and we don't do it, we're held responsible for the words that came from Yah's mouth. He's not a Elohim that speaks and no one's going to listen.
Yes.
The reason why he didn't kill him is because he was merciful. And he brought him out and said, well, for my own reputation, I'm not going to kill him in front of these people because I made a promise. I said I'm going to be their Elohim. So he is our Elohim, you see, and based on that first pledge alone. So he doesn't need to say, well, you never got the covenant. That's out of the question. He says, even if you were here or not here, you're bound to it. Even if a person never heard Yah spoke the covenant, they're still bound to it. So so does he want all Israel to know? Yes, he does. So is he waiting for us to tell them? No, he's not. He says, I called, but they never answered. Yah's not asking you and I to do a missionary journey or go on a trip and tell people about him. He's not saying that. You cannot tell anybody, because if the judgment is predicated upon whether or not they believe me or believed you, then they got a problem. The problem is did you believe what he said? So it doesn't have to come from me and you. It comes from him. So if they decided, because these are the rebels. So I asked myself, well, I told my brother, but does it mean that listen, anybody, if my mama rebelled, which she did, but I'm going to tell you something about that. Let me give you the refreshing part. Okay. If Yah tells you and I, just think about what he's saying. If he's saying, I told you guys in the wilderness, don't do this, and you did it, and I said, I'm going to scatter you. And then he tells you, when I scattered you, I'm going to come and get you from there. We were in the wilderness. Israel is a class of people that have been here, and that you and I are trying to get it right. And if you and I change the turn the table, listen to me. That's the reason why he asks us to ask for the misdeeds of us and our ancestors, to say, not only did you and I, he didn't ask for me and you to repent on our own and say, well, I'm the only one that went against you. In the book of Leviticus, he tells us, this is important for us to know, Israel, stay on board, don't go anywhere, because he's going to explain to you and I what it is. In Leviticus 26, he says this, listen what he says. Then they will confess their misdeeds and those of their ancestors. Why is he asking us to confess the deeds of our ancestors? See what I'm saying? Why is he asking you to confess your deeds, their misdeeds, and those of their ancestors, which they committed against me, all of us? So us and our ancestors is one and the same in their rebellion. Their ancestors were the same. So anybody that has a rebellion, he didn't say, well, just say you're sorry. He says, no, I need you to do your misdeeds and their misdeeds and their of their ancestors. Talking about us. This is that's us, because we're scattered. That's what he said. Okay. Because we're doing over the guilt over the misdeeds of your misdeeds when you're scattered. Why did you have misdeeds? Because you were there, and those of your ancestors. All of us are in the same pool. So he says, if they, you and I, will confess our misdeeds, he says they're talking about us in third person, and those of their ancestors, which they committed against me in their rebellion, then guess who's telling the story? Moshe is being instructed by Yah to tell Israel about what they need to do. That's us. We need to admit, we need to confess that they, which is us, went against him. When did you and I go against him? When we were already alive, when we were in the wilderness, when we've been in the pathway, when we've been going down the generations, we have gone against Yahweh. That's why he's including them, because you can't, anything that they've done, he's saying that you and I were part of it. He wants to make sure that you understand from day one, the day that they were in Egypt, day one until today, no one has ever done what Yahweh said. Day one of bringing that, going and saying that I'm your Elohim today to today. He's saying those are all the transgressions and the rebellion you have gone against me. And at that time, I will be going against them, bringing them into the lands of their enemies. But if their uncircumcised heart grows humble, they are paid. They're paid. Who's paid? You and I, for their misdeeds. And guess what? Guess who else is being paid? When we ask for confess the guilt, and we confess that, and we admit the guilt of ourselves and our ancestors, then we are paying for it. Because you and I, and remember the other day, someone said, well, how are you paying for your transgression? Because everything that our ancestors done is being passed on to us, and everything that we have done, we're all being paid. Because Yah's righteous. This is shalom. Yah's paying us back for everything that they've done and everything we've done. Because if the truth be told, how do you and I know that we're not the ones who taught them how to do it? That's what I'm trying to say. Israel has never done what Yahweh has said as a nation. So he says, if you do this, if you and I, if their uncircumcised heart grows humble, and you and I are paid, that's how you and I are getting out of this. We're paid, but you got to confess, and you have to admit. If you don't admit and you don't confess, your ancestors and your own, that all of us have been going against Yah. Well, I never went against him. I wasn't there. It's kind of like the people I heard today on TikTok. A group of Caucasian people said, we're not responsible for what happened in slavery. We're not responsible for that. We're not paying you any reparations. We're not responsible because we didn't have nothing to do with it. That's what they said. You understand? But you are your ancestors. That's the truth. We are our ancestors. Just like you and I could go back to the land and receive a promise because Yah said, I'm going to give it to you and your descendants forever. We're part of those people forever. So the bad news is, if you and I don't turn and change, then we're going to die. And Yah's going to cut us off. You're cut off. But if you and I decided we're going to turn, Yah says, okay, if you turn, guess what? You get in the land. Once you go in the land and your sons make it, your daughters make it, guess what? If they decide they want to turn, they get to come. If my son or my daughter is a rebel, they're not going in. If my son decided he's playing the role because I'm his father, he's not going in. Because Yah had made it very clear that no rebel is going in. Anybody that got an idol is a rebel. Anybody that won't keep the Shabbat is a rebel. Anybody that's not willing to try to follow the Torah to the best of their ability is a rebel. I got told in plenty of places, we're not rebels. We're the new generation of Israel. No, you're not. No, you're not. You are the same people that were in the wilderness. Because if it wasn't the case, then why did he tell us when these things have come upon you, both the blessing and the cursing? Well, when's the curse going to happen? When you end up in exile that I told you. So now does it make sense? So that's how it goes. So we don't know the exact process, but we know that we're our ancestors. So Kent, you want your family line to continue? You teach your children the right way. And guess what? If they follow what Yahweh says with a whole heart, by the time they have sons and grandsons, you might come through that line again. If you did what Yahweh said, you get to continue. And your family gets to continue, and that's how it goes. Because Yah's not just creating a whole bunch of souls and souls and souls and souls. No, we've been with Yah. It says David said, this is what WID said. He said, when you formed me, you wrote down all my members, and you already know my destiny. You know all my days before they ever were played out. So everything about our lives is being played out. You and I are the people were in the wilderness. We were in the wilderness, and we're the ones who had the idols who didn't want to get rid of it. Yah didn't ever wipe us out. If Yah would, okay, here's the thing. If Yah would wipe us out, would any of us be online today? If Yah would have wiped Israel out, would they ever exist?
No.
So guess who Israel is? The people that are online. He didn't wipe us out. He didn't he didn't go to our root of our tree and rip that tree out. There's roots in the ground. And since the roots are there, the tree continues to grow. You understand? We go through the cycle. So that might be, what they would call esoteric or whatever they want to call it. It's not. It's very, very basic. You look at anything that grows, it has seeds, and the seeds produce, and they go into the ground, and it recycles itself. And that's the reason why he's asking, and he's telling you and I, when you're in exile, when you are in exile. So we already been talked to. And because you've been spoken to, you and I already know the message. That's why you don't need anybody to try to convince you of this. When you heard it yourself, you believed, you decided, I'm going to do this. And it was your choice. So we're the people. We're the people that were in the wilderness. I know that scares us. And it's like, whoa, no, we're the people. We're playing out everything. Just like they went into Egypt, we're scattered all over the nations. Just like all the nations saw before what Yah did, they're going to see it again. But this time it's going to be on a global level. So he's going to reveal himself to the whole world. And then they're going to know who Israel is. And then they're going to come and find out who Israel is. And Yahweh says, if you don't learn the ways of my people, I'm going to destroy you. That's in chapter number 12 of Ezekiel. If the nations, after he takes Israel out and Israel doesn't learn his people's ways, Yah says, I'm going to uproot that nation. I'm going to get rid of that nation. I'm killing those people. Chapter number 12, I think it's the last couple of verses of was it Ezekiel? No, Jeremiah. Yeah. If they don't learn my people's ways, I'm getting rid of that nation. So we're not going anywhere. You're the stars, you're the sand, you're the dust of the earth. You understand? So we get to continue and continue. So anybody who's rebelling, there will never be a rebel in the land of Israel. There'll never be a rebel in the land of Israel again, because he's not going to put us out again. He's making a covenant of peace. That's what he said. I'm going to make a covenant of peace with them, and I'm not going to put them out anymore. So the idea of them rebelling and the children not listening and everybody, this is the reason why he says, I'm going to write the Torah on your heart, because once I give you that, you're not going anywhere. So that's what we're waiting on. So how do you earn that, right? Well, you're not necessarily earning it, but you are in your own way. Listen to me. You have a choice. Either you're going to do what he says or you're not. If you're a rebel, you don't get to go in. So if you don't want to listen now, he's not going to take you out to the wilderness like a lot of these rabbis and preachers tell you that, oh yeah, when we get there, then that's when we're going to learn. No. Yahweh wants to know if you have a whole heart for him right now. If you don't have a heart for him and you're not wholehearted, okay, going back to our example, Caleb and Joshua. Those are the only two of that generation that he kept alive. Why? Because he says Caleb was wholehearted towards me. So he's letting us know, if you want to know what's going to happen, all you got to do is look at the Torah about the wilderness. And I will tell you, and I just explained to you what happened in the wilderness. But read the stories and find out. The people that rebelled against me, I opened up the earth and I swallowed them. The people that tried to take over the priesthood, I sent down fire and burned them in the wilderness. That's exactly what I'm going to do with the rebels. That's why I gave you the story about Korach and those people, because they're the rebels. So what did I do to the rebels in the wilderness? I sent down fire and I burned them all up. And that's what I'm going to do to the next group of rebels that I'm going to bring out to the wilderness. Those are the individuals who don't want to accept what I said. The people who went to their doors and were complaining all the time, I opened up the earth and let them all fall in. The people that rebelled against me, I sent the Leviim to go and kill every last one of them. The people that rebelled against me and worshiped other gods, I hung them towards the sun. I killed all the leaders who were involved. Do you guys get the story now? So if you follow the Torah, you'll find out, well, what is Yah's intention? What is he going to do? That's why I'm staying on a little bit later on tonight, to let you know that if you and I rebel against Yah, you're a rebel and you're going to die, and he's going to bring you out to the wilderness and he's going to kill you right there. He's going to kill you right there in the wilderness, just like he did the other rebels in the wilderness. If you want to find out what a rebel is, go to the book of Numbers and read chapter number 14, 15, 16, and 17, and you will find out what happens to rebels. He kills every last one of them. And that's it. That's it. Anybody who goes against him, I'm killing you. So that's why he's facetious when he says, go on, Israel, continue to serve your gods and your idols. He's letting them know, you don't fear me? I'm killing you. I'm going to judge you exactly the same way. I'm not going to do something to your ancestors that I didn't do to you. So he says, I'm Yahweh. I don't change. That's in, Malachi chapter number 2, I think, verse number 6. I'm Yahweh. I don't change. I'm the same today, yesterday, and forever. I will never change. So if I tell you, and guess what bitterness is? Not only that idol, because the idols can create bitterness. Rebellion is called bitterness. It's called Mara. And Mara means to have a bitter attitude towards what Yah says. Anybody that hates Yahweh, he says, I'm going to repay you to your face. Anybody that won't keep the commandments, he says, you hate me. I show mercy and love and compassion to those who love me to the 1,000th generation, to those who love me and keep my commandments. But those who hate me, I'm going to repay you to your face, straight to your face. So the face-to-face is, I'm going to repay you. I'm going to kill you on the spot. Then you'll know. that I meant what I said, that I am Yahweh. Then you'll know that I am merciful and compassionate and loving, forgiving, because those who do what I say, I'll show them mercy. Those who hate me, I'm going to show you what happens to those who hate me. I'm going to kill them right before your eyes, so you'll know. And they will know too, because now they'll be like, well, he wasn't joking. He was serious about his covenant, because that's what it is. So that's the word of I don't know if it's encouraging, but it's the word that God has given us tonight. We can't play no more games, you guys. And the things are getting bad, and they're going to get worse. But the beauty in all of it is that Yahweh plans, and his intention is to bring you and I out of the places that we've been scattered. So if you are not prepared, and you're playing a mind game, and you're playing a religious game, and you feel like you should tell other people, stop talking about other people about what Yah asked you to do. What you need to do is to do what he said. That's what you need to do. You need to study for yourself. You don't need to worry about whether or not anybody else is going to be saved. It's not the problem. It's not the case. It's not the case. Because Yah says, I spoke and they didn't listen. So he's not using us. This is not Christianity where you go around and tell everybody, hey, do this, and this, and that, da, 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 da. No, it's not it. I'm not even telling you, hey, this is what, no, you need to understand for yourself. I'm just telling you what he said. He said, if you're a rebel, you're not going into the land of Israel. You'll never step 1 foot, because the land is going to be purified. There's no more people with uncircumcised hearts going to get in. There's no one who's going to rebel against me. If I don't want to try to twist your arm to do what I say, if you hate me in the lands of your enemies, you hated me before I sent you away, you hated me while you're still there, and you hate me today, I'm going to get rid of you. You're my enemy, and I'm going to destroy you. That's what I'm going to do to you. So those who are live and watching YouTube, understand, if you don't love Yah with a whole heart and a whole mind, that means with your thoughts, your being, your ambitions, your intention, and you're just playing a game, don't worry. Go on and keep serving your idols. Keep calling on the name of Yeshua and say that he brought you out of Egypt. Keep saying that. Keep saying that he's the angel of the Lord. Keep saying that he died for your sins. That is a rebel. And that person, whether black or white or whatever you are, Yah's going to put you down. You'll never enter the land of Israel. That's why those people over today are not the children of Israel. Because there's a lot of people over there that have rebelled against the Holy One of Israel, and that are actively doing things called homosexuality, lesbian, transgender, crimes, all kind of stuff, killing, violence, all that. That's not our land. And Yah says no uncircumcised person is ever going to enter his city, his land. So those are not the people. So we don't need to play dumb. We understand when Yah brings us back, he's going to cleanse us and wash us and make us right, and we will be a set apart people. But here's the trippy part. You're the one who has to make that choice. You got to make that choice. Yah is coming to get us regardless if you made the choice or not. See, do you hear that? He said, I'm going to bring the rebel out. It was very clear in Ezekiel. I'm going to bring them out too. So don't worry about if the rebels, are everyone going to get taken out? Yes, I'm taking them out. But then I'm going to show you what happens to a rebel. They're not going in the land. I'm going to put them to death. Now that I've destroyed the nations and I brought you out, because I'm not going to whoop my kids in front of a group of people. I'm going to discipline my child when it's just me and my children. And I'm going to do that. And I'm going to reprove them and rebuke them to their face when no one else is there. And then there won't be no witnesses about whether or not I brought them out to kill them, because there won't be no witnesses to that. Don't you get it? I'm going to bring them out. I'm going to deal with the nations, right? And then when I bring them out, I'm going to kill them in the wilderness, just like I did the other ones. Okay. And I'm not going to wipe all of them out, because there's going to be some individuals, like we saw, the ACHI'KAs and the Laka, the individual outside of the nation that seeks me, and the one who found me. The Ka on you, the one who found me, the Umatzatha, you're the Matzatha. If you're the Tha on the end of that word, Matzah means fine and Tha means you. If you're the one who found him, good for you. But you got to seek him out of the nation, you individual, because it's your choice. I'm telling you, I can only give you information. I'm not here to command you. I take that don't back. You do what you want. I'm going to do what he said. He said, go ahead, continue to do what you're doing. And then you're going to see. You understand? So no threats, all promises. Okay. So for us, this online today, the people to hear, I know that you have a heart for him. I know that. But I want you to know for yourself that you truly are wholehearted with Yah. You cannot have your foot on both things. These holidays are coming up. They're coming up. The moment you go ahead and say, you know what? I'm going to do Christmas and I'm just going to go visit people. And it's nothing wrong with that. I believe in Elohim. Yah says, oh, you went to the party. I want you to go back and read what happened to people who went to go celebrate with people who worship another God. What did I do to them? I hung every last one of their leaders up by their face. And I killed all of them and I hung them up in the sun in front of all Israel. And then I killed everybody else that was involved and I plagued them too. So I'm letting you know the moment that you participate and you be part of the sun worship God, because that's what the Christmas is. And you went to that, you're participating. You're not wholehearted with me. You can't be both sides of the fence. You got to pick a side. And that's what it is. Wholeheartedness means I'm faithful to you. Okay. I can't sit up here and teach you guys. And all of a sudden, like some of the former leaders I had, they ended up going to one of my family members' house just to celebrate Easter or Thanksgiving because I want to be part of the family. I don't want them to hate me and think something's wrong with me. So I can seem normal. Let me go against what Yahweh said so I can feel normal again. So they will accept me. Well, if your family means that much to you and how they feel about you being weird because you follow what Yah says, you pick your side. You would rather be accepted of them rather than the creator. I mean, I know this is tough talk and I know it's personal, but I'm telling you the truth. I'm giving you my own experiences. I had to walk away from my mama. Why? Because she didn't want to follow what Yah said. I'm protecting my own interests. And I would hope that you would protect yours. This is not a religion. This is real. So when he talks about bringing us out, he's already done it before. We have too many examples. This is not based on hyperbole, like I'm just making this up. I'm telling you, if you read the Torah, you'll find out what happens to the people that are wishy-washy with Yah. He already told you when they were in Egypt, I told them to get rid of their idols. So if they were worshiping and doing Christmas, they kept doing it. Yah said, get rid of it. They didn't do it. He said, man, but this time is coming around. He says, I'm going to stretch out my arm, mighty hand, and this time I'm pouring out fury. I'm going to kill my people out in the wilderness. That's what I'm going to do because you're not going to go on the land. So if you ain't going to land, where are you going? You're going beneath the earth. Like, what's his name? Avihu and them, Dathan and Avihu, Aviram. They're the guys who said, we don't want to deal with you, Moshe. We're God's people. We're Elohim's people too. We don't have to listen to you. We're going to do our own thing. Matter of fact, we're going to go back to Egypt. We got to pick another leader because, we don't understand why we're out here in this wilderness doing this with you, because you ain't did nothing you said you was going to do for us. But he said, okay, well, hey, everybody move away from their tent and everybody step away. And they did. And they fell in. Men, women, children, animals, everything they belong, all their possessions, everything went straight into the ground. So my family, I'll speak for my family. My family's going out to the wilderness. My brothers, my sisters, my aunties and cousins and uncles and friends, and we're going to see all of them out there. And Yah's going to tell us, step aside, move aside. And guess what? They're gone. They're gone. Okay? So I've kept you long enough. I'll see you on Shabbat if this hasn't scared you away. If you want to know the truth, you're going to find out the truth because that's what I've been sent to tell you. I'm not here to tell you anything about except for what the Creator wanted to tell you. Actually, my intention tonight wasn't even to go here, but the Holy One of Israel takes over, and his word goes beyond what I want to teach. He's just letting us know that the time is running out for Israel. Time is running out for us as a people. And if we can't recognize the signs of his judgment is coming, his judgment's coming. And so he wants Israel to be ready for it. He wants Israel to be ready for it. There was a young lady who had a dream and she was on there bawling, crying. I got the video, I saved it. And she said, a lot of people are not going to believe me. And she said she had a dream. And in this dream, she saw two moons. And in these two moons, and it's kind of like your dream, Kent. She said that she went outside and she saw these moons. And she said that all of a sudden, people started screaming. The sun turned into fire. And when the sun turned into fire, it went dark. Everything was dark. The whole world just went black. And then the only thing that was there was the sun, and the sun was just fiery, it's fire coming out. And people were screaming and hollering. And she says she heard the Creator say to her, warn the people and tell them, I'm coming. And this girl was crying for like 3 to 4 minutes straight on her little TikTok video. And she said, I know no one is going to believe me, but I'm telling you, he's coming. And she said, he's very, very angry. And what she didn't do was she didn't say she didn't say Malachi chapter number 4. She didn't say Zephaniah chapter number 2 and 3. She didn't say any of the things that I know that described her dream. Didn't say when he made a covenant with Abraham, that's a picture of his coming, that everything turned dark and a fear came over Abraham. Then he saw this fire, this torch. She didn't say that. What she described was very similar to what happened at Mount Sinai, where everything was dark. There was no light out when Israel got the covenant. When he spoke, there was complete darkness. And there was complete smoke and thunder and lightning and the sound of the shofar. It wasn't a bright day, folks. And they saw this fire, and that's why they were terrified. It was a day of darkness. You understand? And I mean, a thick darkness. Okay. So it describes Yah, and Yah says he's a consuming fire. So this girl didn't mention any scripture. She just cried for like 3 to 4 minutes. And she said that she said, no one's going to believe me. And I thought to myself, that's weird, because I believe her. Everything she said matches up with the Torah and the Tanakh and the prophets. It matches up with Isaiah 63 and 64, where Isaiah said, well, we wish that you would just come down so the whole world would tremble. Well, when Yah comes down, everything's going to turn dark. When Yah comes, the only light that they're going to see is the fire of Yah. And that's what he's going to bring upon the world. That's true. So with that being said, she said, I'm not setting a time or a date. I'm just telling you it's coming. So it is coming. And I'm giving you the heads up, because I know it's coming. Things are not going to be the same. And Israel as a nation is about to go through hell. As a people, our people are going through hell right now. If you don't get vaccinated, you don't got a job. They're cutting food supply off. They're forcing stuff on people like you ain't never believed. It's coming. And our time is almost over. So get your house in order and be 100 with it. Be real. Okay. So I say Lila Tov to you. I say Shalom to you. I say Shalom to you. May we be paid for our crimes and our sins against the Holy One. And may he be the Elohim that he said he's going to be to us. And may we not be the rebels. And maybe we change our attitude against what he says and can continue down the path that we're on. And if there's somebody asks you a question, answer it. They don't want to know it, forget it. Don't waste your time. You know? And if you need to grieve right now about it, grieve, cry about it. I've cried. And then leave it alone. And then get back to business about the Creator. So with that, I say hallelujah, praise the Holy One of Israel. And I'll see you guys on this Shabbat at 10 o'clock. Okay?